Powered by Riverside. Powered by Riverside.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scene Subplots and Side Quests. It's me, one of your hosts, Joshua Awesome here, with my friend and co-host.
Chris CKJ, everybody. How's it going?
All right. Well, today's episode is, as we know, Halloween is coming up tomorrow, and we are going to discuss some spooky topics related to games, our favorite mangas and comics, and TV shows, movies, and anime. We just gathered up some of our favorite properties that have some of our most maybe terrifying thoughts or fears or the like, and we're just going to talk about what we like about those properties, where they fit in our lives, and maybe like why we like being scared, like why do we like things like roller coasters and things that can fill us with dread and terror and fear. I mean, I guess some people look at those things as exciting and adventuresome.
Yeah.
Right.
Depends on who you
But I
are.
guess we'll start out with games, and then we'll talk about our favorite mangas and comics, and then we'll talk about animated TV shows, anime, and movies. Or not just animated TV shows, but anime, TV shows, and movies. And some of our favorite scary themed properties.
Yeah.
We might throw in some things that maybe we forgot about to talk about on the list. Because I just started thinking of some things. I'm like, oh man, I should have added that. But let's start out with games.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple I had on my list, and we'll go into a shared one that both Chris and I have. But when I think of scary games, the two franchises I think that pop out in my head the most, because they were so prevalent when I was like really, really into gaming, was the Resident Evil series and the Silent Hill series. Now, I'm most familiar with Resident Evil 4 through 7. Those are the ones I played the most. I think Resident Evil 5 is the Resident Evil I played the most. And that series is just, it's kind of about a zombie outbreak that happens, right? So it kind of fits into that classic trope of zombie apocalypse. I think Dead Rising fits into that as well, but Resident Evil was like one of the, you knew you were going to be kind of terrified when those games came out. Chris, have you had a chance to play any Resident Evil games?
I've played a few of them. I remember playing, I think, really early ones when I was younger, like Resident Evil 2, and then maybe some of the newer ones, but it's been a while. But
Yep.
I do like the whole, concept of a zombie, in this universe, because correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like it came from like a medical experiment kind of gone wrong, and just like your
Yeah,
typical
big
stereo one, and it
corporation. I think it's
Umbrella is
Umbrella
the
Corp.
corporation, right? Yeah, and I just like the whole thing of like, people trying to do good or trying to make money from doing good, and it just ends up blowing up in their face and destroying everything. Typical kind of story, but very entertaining if done right.
Yeah, and there's the types of monsters that end up coming out of
Oh,
it is super interesting.
yeah.
But when it comes down to like all-time classic scary games, I think Resident Evil. And I like how they kind of reinvented it over the like years and continued some of the storyline. Um, it's a shame that the movie adaptation wasn't as good as video game adaptations can be. Not saying it was bad. I'm not going to say like the movies themselves were entertaining for sure. But I think we're kind of spoiled with the kind of quality that we have now with video game related properties being adapted.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say I did like the movies, but I didn't know how well they, because it's been a while from the games, like how well they diverge. Like I
Mm-hmm.
like seeing those zombie dogs and the giant zombies and the freaking weird ones that just fall from the ceiling. So,
Well,
I do
yeah, and
like the
like the
designs.
latest one, they had Lady, was it Demastrous?
Oh,
Um,
the really big lady. Yeah.
yeah, the really big, voluptuous lady.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You know, you gotta have the
Yeah.
sexy monsters too.
Hey, man, equality hits everybody.
And then another game that gave you a lot of cool jump scares. And then the next property that I really liked growing up was the Silent Hill series, because that gave a certain creepiness in the mood setting and like your light source essentially, and staving off like just the whole concept of having limited visibility was really smart of them, and it really gave a sense of tension, good things could get out of hand quick. Have you ever played any of the Silent Hill series?
I don't think I have. Like, I think I've seen some characters and maybe a plot or two through osmosis, essentially
Hmm.
people talking about or videos. But like, I know one of the killers has like that giant metal triangle looking head with a giant like sword or blade. That's as, some of the villains I know from it. But I know it's a pretty well versed franchise, right?
Yeah, it's got a lot of iconic, I think, character design in a lot of it. It's very much leans into uh, a creepy mystery in a creepy, like, fog-ridden town. And there's a lot of like ambiguity in a lot of things that helps build tension, and you're like solving a mystery piece by piece, clue by clue. And it definitely leans into that like mysterious, scary, unknowing, I feel like, in Silent Hill. um
Gotcha.
I hear they're trying to make a movie or something. I think they did make a movie, didn't they?
They did make a movie because I remember like some lady, I forget the actress's name, so forgive me, going in to try to save like a child or family member child or kid, and it just kind
Yeah.
of goes a little bit interesting direction if I remember correctly. But it wasn't that bad. I've seen worse.
Right. But those like so Resident Evil's that jump scare, adrenaline type of scary, and then Silent Hill is that like tension building, nervousness type of scary.
Yeah, that I can see that.
Now what's your favorite like spooky, scary franchise?
The one of my favorites is Dead Space video game series, which is really fun. It's kind of like I like to think of it as like space zombies,
Yeah,
and
it's like an
it's like
infection.
yeah, like if you get scratched or if you know somehow breathe it in or things like that, come in contact with it, it really deforms you. Like some of the creatures have giant spikes, little baby infants with like tentacles running around trying to kill you, and
Yeah,
it's
that
just kind
was
of like
one of the creepiest parts when you came into the nursery of that
oh,
that game.
ugh.
Well,
Yeah, and
so have you played all three? Dead Space 1, 2, and 3?
I played Dead Space 1 and 2. I haven't played
Ah,
3. Um, but I have gotten some pieces of information from 3, but I just like the overall creepiness because like you mentioned with like jump scares and the untensionness, to me I felt like there was a enough tension and then some good jump scares here and there from the enemy zombies, if you want to call them that, the necromorphs, if I remember. And yeah, and then even like I'm not sure if you remember this, but they made an animated series of Dead Space, and they did a really good job making them look creepy. But the giant, like I want to call it a mollusk or the giant tower that just like scares them off, but just seems so terrifying.
yeah. I remember, I think in the first game, you're like, when you're the main character, you're on like an engineering
Yeah,
expedition, right? So it was like
yeah,
your main weapon was like a mining tool,
yeah.
right?
You can
That
customize it to
cut.
shoot.
Yeah, and then you could
Yeah.
widen it and stuff like that. And I
Yep.
remember the cool part about that game is that each enemy had, well, most of these games are kind of designed in that way where the enemies have a specific weakness. And then what was cool in that one is like you could craft, I think, what, 4 different types of guns, and they were kind of effective for each different enemy. But man, I remember I like games that don't give you unlimited ammo. And I remember in that game, I think, running close to running out of ammo numerous times, and you're just like, oh no, I'm gonna have to whack them to death with a gun, or
Yeah,
how am I gonna juke this? You know what I mean?
yeah. Some of those monsters got some stupid reach box. You think you'd hit it, then it misses, and then you're just like, what the hell? Beating it with a damn gun rather than a sword or some kind of heavy
Well,
blunt
and I remember
object.
the gun rotated too, right? So like you could
Yeah.
go horizontal and then vertical, and that's how you had to like get dismember certain parts of it in order to like go. So it had a lot of good jump scares, and it had a lot of crazy body horror, you know.
Oh
And so
yeah.
was Resident Evil. Resident Evil was like a body horror esque game too, the way the enemies mutated.
Yeah, the whole like them transforming into one of the necromorphs was very haunting. Like you'd see a body be normal, then it spasm out and just shoot out protrusions and gaping maws and just
Right.
claws. And you're like, oh dear God, what happened?
Yeah, man. And then the 2 and 3 expanded on like the story and what was
Mhm.
kind of released. Um I remember the end of 1 though. You were kind of like, wait, is he okay? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there was like that like and games that kind of and just fiction that leaves you in doubt of some aspects of the story, I think are some of the best because you really think about it. You're like, hmm, what's the sequel going to be like? You know,
Yeah.
I think I played halfway through 3 and I didn't finish it because there was a time where I had to just life moves on and video games aren't a part of it in many instances, right? So
Right.
I never had a chance to finish that. I should go back and try and finish 3 because I own the entire series. When the remake came out,
Oh,
I bought it because I'm like, all right, yeah, let's get that graphical upgrade. I'm down. Let's try it out. So maybe I'll
right.
replay the entire series, play the remake of 1, then go back and play old version of 2 and 3.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun time.
And then I pulled up some interesting, creepy Pokemon because we're both big fans of Pokemon, the Pokemon franchise. Um, and I got some specific ones. They're generally all the ghost type, right? They have the
Yep.
creepiest Pokedex entries. But for a kids game, you look back on it and you're like, wait, they do what? That's kind of
Yep.
okay. So the first one, I guess, is the most Halloween related to me that I'm going to go through, and that's Gorgeist. And that is a large
Yeah.
Gorgeist put on the guise of adults, taking the hands of children to lead them to the afterlife.
Dude, that sounds like Pennywise if I've ever heard it.
Kind of. I mean, I guess in a way, it might not be as creepy because it doesn't say that like they take. It doesn't say anything about well, I guess they are live children and they just take them to the afterlife. But it could be more kind than Pennywise, because Pennywise kind of traumatizes you as you do it. I think Gorgeist might do it in a happier way. Be like, "Do you want to visit? I'm your dead mom. Do you want to come and visit me? Let's
Dear
go."
God, that's creepy.
Instead of it, you know.
Totally.
But yeah, man. So if you're a kid in the Pokemon universe, you have to really worry about ghost Pokemon, dude. You got to worry about ghost Pokemon because they're after you. In a lot of these Pokedex entries, they are after children.
Yeah, dude. Another one that's not on the one that we talked about, but one that just kind of jolted my memory as we're talking about. In the Pokemon community, everyone knows how creepy and awful Hypno is from the very first generation of Pokemon games. He is one creepy looking Pokemon and with some weird, I can't remember all the Pokedex entries on it, but like him talking about hypnotizing people and taking them away. I'm like, nah, he needs to be stopped. Somebody needs to call somebody and get this guy out of here.
Well, yeah, he's the evolved form of Drowsy who eats your dreams and nightmares. Now, I don't know if eating a nightmare is a good or a bad thing. I don't know what kind of psychic backlash that might have on the recipient of said attack, but Dream Eater deals psychic damage. That's all I gotta say.
Dude, yeah, I can't trust those two types of Pokemon. But even like Drifloon drags small children away to the afterlife, especially those who are not heavy. Not only is he fat shaming kids, he's also taking them away. It's like a double slap to the face.
Yo, you better be eating them poke cakes so that way the drift bloom doesn't get you. You know what I mean? You don't want to be a skinny little thing in Pokemon, dude. You don't want to be a skinny lass or lad, that's for sure, because you might get floated away. That's more Pennywise, dude. If Gorgeist and Drifloon merged, it would be Pennywise. It'd be giving kids balloons and they'd float away to the afterlife.
Jesus, that's creepy, man.
Now, next is Dusk Noir, who swallows its victims whole with a mouth on its belly, eating only the soul and leaving the body behind. So it just so you get swallowed by this thing. It doesn't eat you, it eats your soul, your full-on soul, and then your body gets spat back out and like, I don't want that.
That's just like not only gross but disrespectful. You don't want the good stuff, you just want the internal. That's messed up, dog.
Right. Now, to continue on with these Pokemon target kids and children, and it's not safe to be a child. They let you. What's crazy is that these Pokedex entries exist, and they still send children out when they're 11 or 12 out into the world to have their Pokemon adventure, even though there's Pokemon like Phantumps that are tree stumps possessed by the spirits of a lost child that tries to get others lost as well. What? It's like, dude, I got lured in by a Phantump, so I become a Phantump to lure in other children to have their souls possess tree stumps as well.
Dude, it's about building the collective hive mind, dude. That's all it is. Well, I think of one that's a little bit creepier is Frostlass. When she finds a human she likes, she'll freeze them. So like you're permanently frozen, and she takes you to her den and puts you as a decoration. Could you imagine just being frozen like this and then just be hung on the wall? She's like, oh, yeah, look man, at my beautiful paintings.
Its power is to suck the simp out of people and freeze them to death through her beauty,
There be people like that for sure.
It's crazy how it's either Frostlass or Glalie. That's the two you get from a snow runt. You either get this creepy ghost Pokemon that freezes things to death that it likes. It's like, oh, I like you. I'm going to freeze you to death. And then you're going to be my furniture.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. And I thought of one that's not on here, but Gengar. Gengar has always had creepy, dex entries of like, if you have one seeing you, it's either planning to take your soul away or waiting for your soul to disappear. That's crazy, dude.
Dude, ghost Pokemon are just things that died that then start murking other things.
They do.
Let's see. Musharna, when dark mists emanate from its body, don't get too near. If you do, your nightmares become reality.
Oh, hell no.
This thing's a reality warper, dude. Oh my God. Just warping reality? What's going on here, Musharna? Dude, imagine if it could control more of its power to shape reality and turn nightmares real.
Not only that, but not only your nightmares real, but could you imagine somebody just being scared of a clown and it makes a terrifying clown? Now, half the population is terrified of a clown, and it's all
just gets bigger. Everybody who's afraid of clowns just adds to its clowny creepiness.
God, that makes it even worse.
And then the last
Stupid
Pokemon we have on our list is the evolution of Drifloon, Drifbloom, which some say this Pokemon is a collection of souls burdened with regrets, silently drifting through the dusk.
Jesus.
I
That thing
know.
is creepy.
That's like I'm just a collection of souls burdened with regret. This is this is a game meant for kids,
Yeah.
13 or under, pretty much.
Kind of reminds me of that Pokemon Spiritomb, 108 damned souls trapped in a thing of keystones. And I'm like, 100 damned souls? Do you even know what that means? Not only that, but this Pokemon has a collection of souls. What
And they're
are these
damned. They're
things?
not just souls. They're not good souls. They're damned souls.
Yes, which is fucking messed up.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Some of the creepiest things are actually in Pokemon, and you're like, "Wait, you collect these?" Oh yeah, I just have I have a team of all Spiritombs. What?
They only have one weakness.
It's like this is 600 souls, 600 damned souls I had to get for these Pokemon. I made them myself, hatched them out of eggs.
Oh dear God, that's disturbing.
Right? You're like, I just collect souls. I'm a necromancer Pokemon trainer. I just have Pokemon that kill people.
You have a dead dog graveyard, the one from Sword and Shield, just following you.
And then there's another one that's not on here is Houndoom, who says it's
Oh,
when it burns something, they forever feel the burn for life,
that's
forever. That's like, Jesus, dude. What is this? An Uchiha? It's an Uchiha dog, dude. It's just
dude. It has health flames.
Amaterasu flames.
It does, dude. It just wants to see you suffer and burn forever. And
I need to see like
disturbing.
art of Sasuke Pokemon challenging, having Houndooms with Sharingans that just black flame it up.
That would be sick. Just fire against fire.
All right, let's move on to some of our favorite properties or characters from manga and comics. I guess I have more on my list, so I'll start it off. And I'm going to start it off with a property that's also a TV show, but I believe that the comic book is creepier because it is they didn't have to cater to network television in any way, and it is the Twisted Mind of Robert Kirkman, and that's The Walking Dead. And one of the reasons why is I believe both Negan and the governor are characterized a little more harshly and gruesome in the comics, especially the governor. The governor got a big network television makeover to the character and I believe the personality. I mean, in the comic, the governor just straight up takes Rick's hand, and like they couldn't do that, I feel like, in the beginning with Rick.
That's
and there's like there's a crazy moment after that where like Carl has to take care of Rick, who's dying from an infection of his rotted hand that got chopped off when they met the governor, and the governor like keeps the heads of his family and
That's
such
crazy.
instead of just keeping. I think he just keeps the bodies. He keeps their heads in like jars. If I remember correctly, he's way more twisted and does way more effed up shit in the comic book, and he's not a good person in the TV show, but the comics really like show you the world without laws and without societal pressure, how some people can become monsters, and that's why that comic book it became less about how scary the zombies were and more about how scary the people are, right? The survivors. Did you ever read the Walking Dead comics, Chris?
No, I don't know. I don't think it caught my attention when the show was coming on. I knew it was based on comic books. I just didn't, follow that train when it was really popular. But it seems like I missed out. But I've seen some clips of like zombies getting their heads bashed in, and them, you know, if anyone hasn't seen it, I know this clip might be a spoiler if I talk about it. So just a heads up, they'll like, dress up as like zombies and like walk with them to pretend they are one to kind of merge with the horde and get past them.
Yeah,
So
they have to
yeah,
like
that's kind of
rub all their guts and viscera all over them to kind of mask their smell to them. Yeah.
yeah, which is pretty cool, but disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. So The Walking Dead, I mean, when it got announced as a TV show, I was super excited. I at that point also started reading Invincible, which is Robert Kirkman's other property. So he did both The Walking Dead and Invincible. And the TV show, as far as The Walking Dead, vastly differs from the comic book, especially like the surviving characters. Carol, who's a very big, popular Walking Dead character from the TV show, was killed off in the comics like super early, and a character that got killed off in the TV show is basically who Carol kind of adopted. A lot of Carol's like personality and survivorness was Andrea, and Andrea was like one of the most badass women in the comics, and they like super nerfed her in the TV show. And that's something I hate about sometimes adaptions. You're like, why couldn't you just make Andrea like she was in the comics? You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. It was like one of those things where you felt betrayed as a reader of the comic, where you're like, oh man, what? Really? Okay. That's like if they just completely in Naruto, if they just in the anime, they're like, oh, we're gonna swap Ino and Sakura, and now
Oh,
Ino is gonna she's gonna be part of Team 7 and be the main character instead of the actual main character from the manga. And you're like, what? Why? Why?
yeah, that would be horrifying to watch and view.
And then the next one on my list from comics is the Sugar Man from Age of Apocalypse. Did you read any of the Age of Apocalypse comics at all growing up?
No, not so much. I was gonna say the only ones that I remember reading are just like the Hulk series.
Mm.
So I haven't watched any or read any of the X-Men stuff.
So Age of Apocalypse, just a quick rundown of Age of Apocalypse. Legion, who is Professor X's son, wanted to go back in time to kill Magneto, who he kind of blames as the reason for all the troubles that his dad has. He wants to make his dad proud, but he's kind of crazy at the same time. He goes back in time and accidentally kills Professor X instead of Magneto. So we see a world where Professor X never existed. Magneto, in memory of Professor X, tries to live up to the ideals of his institute, and the leader of the opposing mutant faction is Apocalypse, who creates the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse. And because instead of it being pacifist Professor X versus militant Magneto, it's kind of like militant but wanting peace Magneto versus Apocalypse. And Apocalypse takes everything to survival of the fittest, and you get to see kind of like crazy alternate versions of all the X-Men. Part of this is one of the X-Men's villains, Mr. Sinister, is kind of employed by Apocalypse and takes his experiments on mutants to the extreme, where he has his prodigy, Scott Summers, who has lost one of his optic eyes to Wolverine, who lost one of his adamantium hands to Cyclops' optic blasts.
Oh,
Yeah, that backstory is really cool. You get to see Scott with like super long hair, and he's like hunting his own kind down because he's a part of the like a mutant hunting force for Sinister. But Sinister's proteges and like other messed up scientists are the Sugar Man and Hank McCoy, the Dark Beast.
oh,
and they experiment on mutants in horrific and terrible ways. Sugarman is kind of like almost like a mix of MODOK and Doc Ock, where he's got multiple hands and arms, but he's like a giant face, kind of like MODOK. And he runs sick, twisted experiments that is very like Dr. Frankenstein-esque, but to like the infinite degree. And he was one of the most terrifying villains in Age of Apocalypse, in a world where it is the worst of the worst. There's like a small coalition of humans that are trying to fight back, but almost all of humanity was exterminated in the wars. The wars. So that was the Sugarman from Age of Apocalypse. Sorry, I had to go on a little Age of Apocalypse tangent. Let's go hop over to you, Chris. What's one of your favorite scary properties?
One of mine is Uzumaki by, and I'm gonna say maybe his name incorrectly, Ito Jinji. And he is a man of particularly great skill of making his manga not only eerie but terrifying. And one of his most iconic ones that I kind of like is called Uzumaki, or I believe the other name is Scar. And essentially, this, young, I believe she's in high school or college woman, she has like a scar under her hair. And, like, but I don't know where, as soon as she gets a scar, all these like boys start like really getting attracted to her for no reason. They ask her out, and, she's finding it a little bit weird, but also finding it really flattering. Like if anyone starts like liking you and like, oh yeah, please like me more. I love that. But it starts
Right.
getting a little bit at hand, and her friends like, hey, I might know somebody that could probably tell us what's going on. He meets her, and essentially, boom, he's like, I don't like you, get away. And then the story kind of devolves. Spoiler alert, I'm just going to go into this for anyone who hasn't watched it. So if you want to watch it, skip this part. And essentially, as the story continues, the scar keeps getting larger and larger and, spiral. And she at one point grabs a guy and absorbs him into the spiral, and then the spiral just slowly absorbs her until she disappears.
Dang,
And then
sucked his
just the
soul out.
horror. Not only that, his whole body, soul and body, no discrimination there, and her entire body disappears with it. And that's just one of his many works. And if you want to be creeped out with some manga, that is, an artist, mangaka that I would recommend you check out.
I've
Super good.
seen some of the panels from that, and they are creepy AF.
It's like a uncanny valley kind of.
Now, for me, one of the next properties is more of a psychological scare, where it would be the villain, the Purple Man from the Marvel Universe. Because the Purple Man has the ability to influence you and make you do things by taking your free will away and kind of superimposing what he wants over that. So you kind of do it with your subconscious knowing, but your body obeying, but you're aware and cognizant of everything that's happening as it happens, right? So he can make you kill yourself, for example, and you would just be along for the ride as your body kills yourself or kills somebody else. He's made people murder for him, like Cuts from a Thousand Death from the Jessica Jones TV show. And they have to obey the command or the suggestion to the best of their like body's ability. You know what I mean? So the idea of that in an evil man, because other characters have that, right? In Umbrella Academy, what's her face has that same type of ability, but this is somebody who's kind of a narcissistic, evil person who has that ability, and they use it in such terrible ways. Some I just can't. I don't want to describe on the internet. Because
he does it to
it's
Jessica
bad.
Jones, right?
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, I remember that. That's ooh.
Yeah, exactly. So the type of like some big like fear in me is like that ability to get controlled in a way. Like one of the best games as well that kind of like had a horrifying plot twist was BioShock. Have you ever played BioShock?
I think I may have played the first one. I don't remember
Well,
much.
would you kindly tell me about that first game? So, in the big plot twist in the original BioShock, and spoiler alert for anybody who wants to play that, if you haven't played that, skip this part. Like the next 30 seconds or so. But in BioShock, you know, the guy's giving you the tutorial and he's like, would you kindly pick up that gun? And you pick up the gun, and would you kindly do this? And would you kindly do that? And it turns out like you're following the plot threads of this game. At the very end of the game, you find out that would you kindly is a trigger phrase and you have to do whatever it says. So it's like, would you kindly shoot yourself? And you see like yourself trying to shoot, like point the gun at yourself. And you, through the process of the game, have also been coaxed along by a second, you know, narrator or voice, and they have actually been essentially saving you from yourself by having you kind of deprogram yourself, right? So that was one of the best plot twists, plot hooks in all of gaming history in that one. And it was like this realization like, oh no, I've been manipulated this entire time.
Uh, that sucks.
And then what was next on your list for manga, Chris?
Oh man, it's Devilman Crybaby. Now there is the manga, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's the two anime adaptations. There was one from the early '90s, if I remember that correctly, and then one from the early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
You probably can still find it on Netflix. And essentially, just a quick preview. Essentially, as human society happens, demons like the ones from hell, Lucifer, and all that start
Right.
coming up into the world. And some of the stuff that happens in there not only shows you the true horrifying nature of humans being scared and finding a way to blame people to justify their means, but also the body horror. Like there's a demon who, they'll either eat or absorb these humans, and he'll use them as like a shield, and you'll see their faces on his back, and you'll hear their souls and faces just talking like,
Mm-hmm.
save me, help me. And he uses that so that way demons won't kill him or other humans won't kill him, like Devilman Crybaby or Devilman. And it's just some of the worst things. And I don't know if I should spoil this for anything at the end, but spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't watched it. But in the manga and anime, they find who Devilman is, like his human family and what he, where he lives.
Yeah.
And he's trying to run and save his family and friends and his, lover, his childhood friend. And he's too late. All the people in the town have already, dismembered them, put them on spikes in the fire, and just like blaming them and Devilman for everything that's happened. And he goes full on rage mode, gets rid of all of them,
Yeah.
and then he goes and fights Satan to a standstill. Yeah, it's a
Gotta
very
end
dark,
big, you know?
true, but yeah, it's a very dark human take on the human, uh true terror and feeling of when shit like hits the fan. It's very good. I recommend go reading it if you're not too squeamish.
Now, when it comes to mangas, I haven't read too many horror specific mangas, but you know, in the original Naruto, this legendary Sannin was considered creepy and so powerful, and that was Orochimaru, because
Oh
man,
yeah.
he would spit himself out of other snakes.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that is so creepy. That is like snake powers when used in that way are like one of the scariest and creepiest things that you can have. Now it sucks that he kind of got nerfed throughout the series. Even in like Shippuden, he just like, you know, they had to let the younger generation come up and become more powerful, right? He's Orochimaru is nowhere near the badass he was in Baruto, because essentially he's like a side character now.
Yeah.
But when they originally got Orochimaru, especially in the OG Naruto when they were kids, like this adult person was masquerading as with his little sound ninja,
Yeah.
infiltrating this kids tournament
Yeah.
only to murder the old man of Hokage because he got passed over for Hokage, and he ends up resurrecting in not even a good way other Hokage.
Yeah.
And
And the
man, a lot of his powers are creepy in nature in terms of shedding their skin, becoming other things. His quest for immortality is kind of messed up too. So
yeah.
like he just they kind of ruined him later in the series, but OG Orochimaru was terrifying.
Oh yeah, like some of the things he would do, like for Sasuke, he would stretch his neck out from like over 50 feet away and bite him in the neck.
Oh yeah,
Or or
curse
he would
mark
have
seal.
like half of his body turn into a snake and he would slither or travel into the shadows, like sinking into it. And he had snake eyes too, which that just makes it even more creepy. And he would spit out a sword from his mouth like a sword swallower. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing? What is he?
Dude, yeah, if you were to archetype Orochimaru in a D&D campaign, he would be like the evil snake patron, you know, that gives
That's
people
crazy.
powers, but they come at a cost and you become like a demon.
Dude, that's crazy. Orochimaru. Oof.
And then the other, and you in when it was introduced, it's like scary in a way, but not like terrifying in a Halloween way. But when you think about it, when you really think about it, it's pretty terrifying. And that's Cell. Because
Oh
Cell
yeah.
can evolve, but it evolves by basically absorbing you, or absorb the other Z warriors, right? So kind of like in a way getting turned into a freaking cookie and getting ate by a Majin Buu is terrifying. Getting absorbed by Cell so it can become its perfect form. You're just an evolutionary tool to this guy. And that one of the creepy bits in Dragon Ball lore, other than like actual demons from the demon realm, would have to be Cell. And like its ability, especially when it had its effing tail and it could absorb you through its tail, it's like you're getting swallowed by a snake. Kind of messed up.
Yeah, like I think personally, the imperfect cell, like the very first one we're introduced to when he's eating people, is the most terrifying. Because
Yeah.
we get introduced to him by Piccolo finding him, and then you just see this guy talk to Piccolo. He's like, I'll give you so much money if you save me from him. And then you just see Cell just stick his tail into him and start absorbing him, and he becomes like old, wrinkling, completely disappears. And the theory is on how he does that is very much like an insect, where he'll inject you with like almost like a acid and then slurp you up. That's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, dude. Terrible. And what's your last manga that
Yeah.
brings dread or terror to you, Chris?
Berserk. If anyone has read anything of Berserk, that is like not only a depressing dark fantasy, but truly dread in itself, in my opinion. Now, there is a scene in the Berserk or in the story called The Eclipse. I'm not sure if you know about it, Josh, but if our audience is a no,
Berserk is on my list, but I haven't had a chance to read or watch it yet.
well, to kind of, I don't know how to say this without spoiling it, but there's a character who initiates a ritual which causes almost like hell itself to appear on earth, and you
Mm,
have faces descending from the sky, rising up from the ground, demons emerging from it. You have these giant looking demons coming out, and you have this group of 100 humans get massacred in the most horrifying and disgusting way possible. Now, even
oof.
throughout the journey of Berserk, the monsters are terrifying.
Yeah.
You have like this human horse hybrid disgusting. These demons
A human,
disgusting.
like
And
a centaur?
no, it pretty much looks like a horse with a human face and a mouth. It is like true body horror in its design.
Oh, like a centaur that didn't come out right.
Exactly, but more terrifying. And the original author did such an immaculate job of the um mangas that it's so detailed that it's just creepy and amazing at the same time. If you haven't, read it, I'd recommend you pick it up and read. And just be warned, a lot of the themes and a lot of things they show in there are not for the light of heart. So do take that with a grain of salt. So if you're queasy or you can't, like that type of stuff, just be
Right.
warned.
Yeah, I need to check that out because that's a series that's been recommended to me. That I'll eventually probably take a look at. And we're going to finish it off with our anime, TV, and movies. Let's talk about two trailers that have come out recently. One of them I know I'm super psyched about. I know you haven't watched the series at all, but you know a lot about it through osmosis. And that's Stranger Things. The final season of Stranger Things is coming out. That might be something good for you to the binge, Chris. Before it comes out in November, because then you can kind of get a whole sense of everything. They name a lot of the big bads in that show after D&D villains and monsters, and they even played D&D in the show, which is kind of cool. But the trailer comes up and we get glimpses of all the main characters. We get them, some of them just hanging out, some of them in peril. A lot of different shots of our main, like, it's crazy. The children in the show, 11 is now married and has adopted a child. That's how long this has gone on. And she's only supposed to be like 17, I think, in this, or like, I don't know what type of time jump or time skip. I think all the boys are going to be in like maybe high school by now.
Crazy.
But it definitely has it kind of jumps into that 90s vibe with its clothes, I think, and aesthetic as they started out in the 80s. It might be the late 80s, early 90s, but I'm super excited because this is probably Netflix's biggest franchise, and it's something they created and they had in house. And it's just cool to be there from the beginning to see the end of the franchise in itself. Now, as somebody who has never really watched the show, does a trailer like this bring any interest to you to maybe catch the end?
Yeah, a lot of the scenes where, the monsters are coming around attacking like normal people, the demigorgons coming around and slicing them up, killing or hitting a cop,
Yeah,
which
that
was
was the
cool.
final boss in the first season, and now it's just a roaming monster.
Yeah, and then you just see, through like again, like you said, I seen it through osmosis. Vecna coming in like regrowing himself, kind of like a flesh version of Groot, where his arm is like regrowing and
Yeah.
reattaching, which was disturbing. And then he picks up this guy with like telekinesis and is like, "I need you for one last time." I don't know what that one last time is going to do, but it's not going to end well for this guy. I'm pretty sure maybe die or something like that. But
Well, they always had some surprising deaths in it, but not really the main characters. So that's what I'm wondering about in this season.
I feel like, a show like this, you should have at least maybe one or two, not just to do it, but just to show how dire the situation is?
Yeah. Yeah. For people who have seen the series, I think Max is probably going to kick the bucket. Um, she's who got cast to be in the newest Spider-Man as a mysterious redhead. She's the actress Sadie Sink, and she was like really good in everything I've seen her in so far. So I'm excited that she's kind of like joining the Marvel universe. I hope she gets like a role that's going to be there, like present. It would be interesting if they like made her like they cast a redhead, they make you think it's going to be certain ones, but it like throw you off and it's just going to be a different character with a different hair color. Like I think it would be cool if she was Kitty Pryde, and they because like in the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker and Kitty Pryde knew each other from like school and stuff, so that maybe they could put it in like a college setting or something. There are a lot of rumors as to who she's going to play, but I just know she's a fantastic actress. But I think her character and the way they showed hints of her in the trailer, because she was barely in it at all, makes me think that maybe she's going to have that emotional impact of being the character that dies.
Dude, if that's the case, then that'll be a good way to show that this Vecna is no joke.
Now, a movie we've both seen, but I don't know about any of the like how deep into the franchise you've gone, because I haven't seen many of the latest ones. But we got Neve Campbell back for Scream 7, portraying her original character from the original Scream, which is I kind of love what they're doing with. They're not afraid to revisit a property, but like, what is that world like 20 years later, and recasting the same actresses and actors that played those characters from that original time frame, right? I kind of love if it's done well. I love when they continue a world and keep the same actors and actresses, as long as they're still acting and good at it and stuff like that. But what did you think about the Scream 7 trailer?
It looked pretty good. It had like a lot of callbacks to like some of the original movie, like being in the house and just coming out of nowhere and being creepy as hell. And her being like, saying, "Do you miss me, Cindy, or do you remember me, Cindy?" Calling back and taunting her, and her looking for her daughter. And
Yeah.
then I think me and you were talking about it, but in that scene, you always have to double tap or quadruple tap. You can't just shoot them once. You have to shoot them in the head.
If you're in a horror situation, all right,
Yeah.
if you're in a horror situation where you're getting chased by a psycho killer, right? And you do some action that makes it seem like they got bonked on the head and they're dead, you better make sure they're dead.
They're dead.
Right? Because either they're dead or you're dead. So you better double tap. You better make sure, man, that say in zombie situations, in sci-fi alien breakout situations, make sure the damn thing's shot in whatever head it has, whether it's a head in its butt, a head on its shoulders. Man, make sure you are double tapping those enemies, because video game 101.
Yep. As somebody once said, aka Piccolo, it's not over until it's over, and it's only over when you double tap that person.
Yep. Yeah, man. That, again, just rule number one. It makes me excited because it's some of the original actors and actresses. Courtney Cox made an appearance in there as well. And she's I guess probably playing the same reporter who's gonna go and try and get that killer, unless she's the killer. You know what I mean? Who else would know and want to target the sister? It's like, my career's floundering. I need to kill your daughter in order to revitalize my reporting career. Calling it here first. She's the killer. We'll see when if that's the case, me calling it right now upon first seeing the trailer.
Nostradamus over here.
But yeah, let's talk about some other movie franchises that really affected us. We only have like 5 more minutes. We talked about Scream. I will say, back in the day, one of the first properties that got me into horror like properties was The Army of Darkness. Now, The Army of Darkness was sequels to The Evil Dead, which I would go back and then watch. But Army of Darkness is what got me into it. You had Ash, Bruce Campbell, scripted and directed by Sam Raimi, I believe. And Man, you had a guy who was fighting demons, and he had a chainsaw arm, and that was pretty badass, dude. And that was like one of the first things you learn about Ash. I'm pretty sure he had a chainsaw arm. I don't think he just rocked the chainsaw. I think at that point it was
Yeah,
attached to him as an arm.
I think you're right. I think he has like attached to his forearm, and he uses it just to cut people and demons in half.
Yep. But fighting the Necronomicon and the Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness. Now, I know you saw the remake of the original Evil Dead. Is that right?
Yeah, that one was a lot scarier and a lot more terrifying. And I'm like, you see, this is why white kids, you never go into the creepy basement that happens to open itself in a book made of flesh. You don't touch it, you leave it, you burn it, you get out of there.
Unless you're in D&D and you seek ultimate power, then open the Book of Flesh. Especially if you're a wizard, you can get some good powers from any books made of flesh if you're a wizard or a warlock.
Cursed.
Cursed. Just for you guys just out there, should you be playing a D&D campaign and maybe you're a good guy and you want to use the evil power for good, like totally open the book of rotten flesh, because it'll only lead to more ways for you to save the people you love.
Exactly.
What's a good series that really resonated with you, got you into the scarier parts of cinema?
The very first two Child's Play movies with Chucky the doll. It's terrifying to have a serial killer have their soul transferred into a doll and killed, because no one's going to believe that a doll can kill people, walk up and, get around. And, I've always been, terrified of inanimate dolls or, doll-like things just sitting there being creepy with their big black eyes and just staring at your soul. I'm like, nah, burn them all.
Yeah. No, Child's Play got me when I was a kid because my mom likes to collect porcelain dolls.
Oh, hell no.
And she had a whole room full of porcelain dolls that she arranged. And when Child's Play and Amityville came into my life, I was like, no, I have that. I live with that. I don't want to think about that becoming reality in any way. That's terrifying. Yep. Please no.
Exactly. Get rid of them.
Right. Yeah. It changed the dynamic of that showroom, living room. And like, she got all sorts of ones from different parts of the world, because my dad was in the Navy and would pick her up dolls from different countries. So you had like creepy Japanese dolls, creepy American dolls, creepy European dolls. It didn't matter where they were from. They were creepy, dude.
Always creepy. Dolls.
Speaking of creepy, one of the things I really don't like are clowns. So It and It 2 and the original It, all the It's where I'm like, it's like, nah, I know I'm going to get scared in this and I'm going to be making scared yells and I will get jump scared because, man, there's something about clowns that really creep me out. Now, is there anything that you find terrifying that probably shouldn't, like scarecrows or anything like that?
Other than, like I said, the dolls, scarecrows don't really bother me. Clowns don't bother me all that much. Another creepy one, because they don't bother me as much, but they're still really creepy. Mimes. Mimes are just creepy. They don't talk. Dude. They wear black and white makeup, and they just mimic you. I'm like, how do I know you're not a killer? You're just pretending to be normal.
You should play Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I just finished that game, and it had some terrifying moments in it. And the design of a lot of the monsters are creepy Renaissance doll renditions, like a twisted reality. I don't want to give anything away about it because it's such a cool experience. But yeah, subscribe to Game Pass for a month before they up the price and knock it out in a week. of dedicated play or something like that, because it is, or buy the game, buy the game in full, because it is so good. I can't recommend it enough. But it has a very twisted, creepy story to it.
Crazy.
Awesome, man. Well, we have reached the end of our hour-long podcast where we talked about the creepy things that we really enjoyed. We skipped over some things, so we just, we don't have enough time. But honorable mention to Get Out and A Quiet Place in terms of modern horror cinema that I really enjoyed and liked. But tune in next week for our next episode. I'm not sure what we have planned or whipped up, but thank you so much if you're tuning in and listening to us now. We really appreciate it. We know there are a lot of podcasts out there, and we're just two dudes talking about things that we like. So appreciate it. Peace out.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.